Welcome to Pagan Crafting. I'm your host, Kara. On today's video, we're going to make a DIY mushroom hunter logbook. This book was originally inspired on one of my live craft show feeds during a conversation with subscriber and fellow mushroom hunter Tamara T. I thought it'd be cool and fun to design a mushroom hunter logbook for all generations to use, from the young to the elder, from beginner to veteran mushroom hunter. If you wish to join along in today's video, please see the description down below to the link to the PDF download for the Mushroom Hunter logbook. Also in today's video, we'll be assembling the book and learning the art of the Japanese single sheet bookbinding. Join me today for a fungus time as we make our own Mushroom Hunter logbook. Today, I'd like to invite you to make a Mushroom Hunter logbook with me. No matter what age you are, from the young to the old, this will be a wonderful book for you, from beginner to a veteran. This would be a fun book to play with. Sometimes I wonder why mushrooms have gotten so trendy, but I believe its popularity may have something to do with the mushroom being a symbol of happiness and health. Their images just make you feel good, like a flower makes you feel. Mushrooms are a harbinger of comfort and coziness. Some of my favorite reasons why I love mushrooms are they're good for the heart health. They even keep you regular. They can help lower your blood sugar. They can help you with weight management. They'll give you an immune system boost. They're known to fight cancer. They're full of antioxidants and can speed up the metabolism. They contain vitamin D and they're just downright delicious. Some of the most revered delicacies in fine dining in Japan are the world's most expensive mushrooms can be found, the maitake mushroom. Some of the best tasting mushrooms can be oyster, beech, portobello, royal trumpet, chanterelles, and morels. To the most sold mushroom, the white button mushroom. From poisonous mushrooms from psilocybin to the world's most poisonous death cap, there are many different varieties of mushrooms that one can find and hunt and learn from. The Mushroom Hunter logbook, you can print off in any size that you like. I've designed it so you can print it off in a 4x6, the 8.5x10, or a miniature pocket size as well. Now you can download this on the Pagan Crafting Etsy store. There you can find the digital downloads and you can print it off as many times as you like and as many times as you need. This size here is great for a binder size, and this one is a pocket size here. Now you want to print out this one and this one, this one and this one and this one once. You only need one copy of those, and these three you will need repeatedly. You would print those off 10 to 20 times for a booklet. And this is what we're going to make today. We're going to bind these little books with some Japanese book binding, and we're going to be placing the single copies of the front cover as well as the back covers. Inside, you will find the mushroom anatomy. Then in the Mushroom Hunter logbook, you'll go into the stems, the caps, the gills, the spacing, and the attachments. From their habitat to soil condition to where you'd find them, surface, scent, or flesh, lifestyle, this will be all in the book for you to read and utilize. Our first page is for the date, the specimen, the species, location, where you found it, what time of the year, season, and this is where you would put in all your information for your biotypes, habitats, soil conditions, lifestyle, temperature. Are they edible? Are they poisonous? And then the bottom square here is for you to draw your picture. The next is your stock color, shape, texture, anything from the properties to the color, shapes, texture, again for the cap and texture and gill features and spacing. Our last page is for medicinal, magical, and folk and spiritual uses. So that would be your shamanic uses as well. Our last page is my favorite page. You can put on inside the book or on the outside is I mushroom hunt because I have no more else. Yeah. So this is the size of the book that we're going to make today. I've also imprinted some mushrooms on the back pages, if you could see that too. So I've printed out 10 of each, just a smaller booklet. And we're going to make a couple of these sizes as well as one smaller pocket. I'm going to do a green and an aquamarine booklet. One for my best friend, one for my mom, and one for my best friend's daughter. And what I've used here is the back of a drawing pad. So I like the cardboard because it's denser and thicker and it's easy to cut. And it's a bendable cardboard that won't crack as well. What I've done here, I've scored these with scissors. I'll show you that in just a moment. So what you want to do is you want to measure out a 1/2 inch or a centimeter, whichever works for you. I've just drawn a line here with a pencil and I'm going to score it with some heavy scissors. It's about 2 to 3 times, and you want to do that on both sides. And you do want to apply quite a bit of pressure because you're pinching the cardboard together. So we're going to keep one side flat, one side bend, one side will be for the back, and we're going to score the front after we're done painting and sealing and adding the front cover after the binding. So preparing just the front cover, just some regular old acrylic craft paint. You can choose whatever color that you'd like. I decided to go with, I guess it kind of turned out as the elemental colors, not intentionally, but cool. Kind of little earth, air, fire, water here. After the paint is all done, what we're going to do is we're going to seal it with clear Mod Podge. Now this is going to be a high gloss Mod Podge that I chose for this because I want to be able to use this outdoors. So if I set it down on some dewy moss or something that's a little wet, or if it rains, the book is going to be taken care of. So I will be sealing it on both sides, but I'm just going to let one side dry at a time so it doesn't stick to my parchment paper. This one needs a little bit more to dry, but now that this one's coated, this one's ready to go. Gonna grab my little log book here. So I'm gonna start off with the back page. I hunt mushrooms because I have no morels. I love that saying. It cracks me up every time. So giving a little thin coating of Mod Podge on the back of our back sheet here. I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch spacing around the edges for the back. And then you want to do a nice coating of the Mod Podge on top. And this will help, again, seal it in. It looks like I had some bubbles in there, so just you can squish out the bubbles with your paintbrush. The other side's not quite, it's not quite ready yet, so we're going to use this one here. This one's still a little bit damp. We're going to do a couple books at a time here, and we're going to bind a couple books too, so you can see it 2 different ways. Again, a nice thin coating, that's all you need, and a reseal the page again. And that'll be ready for the forest and the weather. And now we're going to hit the front here. I had a bit of a glob of glue I had to just get out there. And we're going to use the front cover, again leaving a little space around the edges. And a little thin coating to seal the front. And those 2 are ready to dry. Now that they've had time to dry overnight, we're ready to assemble our book. Now this one's got a few little holes in it because I started assembling it before, and so we're going to have to work with a little double holes here. Now what you can do is you can, after you line up your booklet, I've left a space on the top of each page where the holes are going to go. So when you print that out, you should have a little extra spacing at the top so it shouldn't bite into any of the lettering. And I love using these paper clips. These work out really, really well to hold the book into place while you're going to be hammering in your holes, as well as working with the binding. The clips are going to be amazing to have, these binder clips. And they're a really cheap fix too when you're making these little sheet Japanese book binding. So I'm going to grab a little piece of cardboard here, and I've measured out a 1/2 inch because a 1/2 inch spacing is what I'd like from the top of the book to where I want my holes into. So I'm going to be making a template here. And this one is going to be a 3-hole binding. I'll show you how to do that. And on one of the larger books, we're going to do a 4-hole binding. So I'm just going to cut that little piece out, and that is going to be my template. And we're going to use this on the front of the book. And see, it's the exact distance I want from the top to where I want my holes to be. And then with a little pen, you can just mark your holes. Because we've done the clear coating on this, you may want to use a little Sharpie or a ballpoint pen. And we're going to do the same for our green and our aquamarine book. Making sure all your pages are super tight. I have this sped up, but I really did take my time at this part. Using the binder clips again. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make a little template, and then once I have a template, every time I print out these books, I can use that same template for all the books, and I won't have to do this each time. And I love it because it's just the right width for binding. As you can see here, what I have, about 1/2 inch. So it's just an easier way, less measuring. You don't have to measure every single time, and you don't have to be completely accurate where you want your holes. You can have as many holes as you want. You can do 10 across here if you wanted to. I like the look of the 3, the 4, the 5, depending on the size. I buggered this one up, so I'm just going to flip this over and I'm going to do this again. I'm going to use my previous book as a template to line up those holes a little better. And I like that. And there I have a little template for each one of my books that I make from now on. I'm going to use the same 4 holes, but we're going to bind it 2 different ways. One will have the tie off at the end, the weave at the end, and one will not have a weave at the end. Great, so what we're going to do next is I am going to take these, and I have a little piece of wood down. I'm going to take a hammer and a nail, and I'm going to poke holes through all the, I'm just going to hammer holes through the top. I'll be right back. Magic of YouTube land, I'm back. So what I've done, I've literally just hammered a nail big enough to get my sewing needle through. Now you could also use one of these puncture. Now if don't buy them at a craft store, they're going to charge you $20 odd for it. What do you want to find it is as a liquidation place or a tool place. Woodworking tools will have this too, but sometimes the price can be up a bit, so really you can have a look around at some craft stores. Will have them not too bad. I use an old geometry set from Mathematical Instruments. Again, anything you want that you could use to poke a hole that is not too large. Here's some of my old templates from some of the other books that I've made. Now what I have here, you could use some upholstery needles. There's sailboat needles for canvas needles, and I'm going to use the fat upholstery ones. I wanted it big enough to be able to not only fit through the holes and also use my embroidery thread. I was thinking about using the green with the green and maybe this purple and black with the purple one. Thinking I like the red as well with it. I could possibly go with the blue, but I don't have total aquamarine to match that one up, but that looks pretty gorgeous too. I feel like I'm just gonna go with the black embroidery thread. Okay, let's start off with this little one here. We're gonna use a very simple one. We're gonna use a 3-hole binding. We'll just start off with an easy book, and then we'll do a 4-hole, and I'll show you the difference with that one. So you can start off with a couple feet. You're not going to need, let's say, 3 feet of line. Again, use whatever color you'd like. But embroidery thread gives it a really sharp look, and it's easy to work with. And you can always have fun with the colors. Each color means something different. So what you want to do is you want to find the middle point of the book. Now there should only be one set of holes, but I also had, this was going to be a project from another time. You want to feed through the middle point of the book up to the outside, leaving a tail here behind. Okay, so you want to leave a longer tail. That's not only going to help you mark the middle, but we're going to come back to that and finish the bind and the circle here when we're all done. Now we're going to weave. So we're going to go over to one point to the right. So we just go straight across first, and we're going to weave again. So now we're going to wrap around the book. This one I didn't wrap around the edges here. This was my first book, so it's a little loose. And this one, as you see here, I wrapped around the edges here. So we're going to do that with this little purple number. So we're going to wrap, it comes through the side, and we're going to wrap it around to the front, going back through the hole. Make sure you don't go through the embroidery thread fibers. It'll create a poor look to it. You want to go just above or just below. Coming back through the other side, we're now going to wrap to the top and down. Again, minding, don't go through the fibers. And there's our first wrap and weave. Next, we're going to weave again, going into the middle, all the way through to the other side now. Just take me a minute to fiddle with this because I have a couple sets of holes where I should not have, so it won't be this tricky when you're doing it. Sometimes it gets caught just on one page, one paper. There we go. And now we do our weave. And now we do our second weave. And again, when we come to the end, we're going to wrap it all the way around the edge, simple as pie. Go back to a weave, and now we're going to go for a wrap around the top. So it's like weave, weave, wrap, and we're going to go back to a weave. We have one more wrap to do. This one's getting a little bit tight. You might want a little thimble for the last couple. It gets a little bit tight as you're pulling through. And we want to finish that with a wrap on the top. Now this one we don't go all the way through. We want to go back to the middle now. So this is our last line. So we do a wrap and we go through halfway through. And just take your time. You're going to poke this through, and you want to watch it doesn't poke into one of the papers. And it pulls through super easy. Now you have two tails to work with. You can just tie a double knot, or you can tie a little bow, however you'd like it to rock it out for you. What we're going to do is we're going to score the front now so we can open up the book easier. Originally I had scored the front of it and then put it all together, and my original book I wound up doing the binding along where the scoring was, and it actually dented it in so much it tore, and my first book was a bust. The front book cover busted off. So I find if you score this afterwards and bend it up, not along your binding line, your book will hold. Just a quick little knot, and I'm going to leave it loose. Tie it off a little bit here, and I'm not going to tie a bow. Just going to leave 2 little bits, and that is our first book. And we're going to make one more. So this is our little book cover here. We got all our little information in the front. These are all little caps and stems. I love this little book. This is a little in your back pocket kind of little log book. Let's make one more with 4 holes now. So I'm going to use black embroidery thread for this one. Finding approximately the middle, and you want one of the first pages. I have 3 pages per mushroom for you to organize your information. So starting off the one where you draw the picture of the mushroom on, or you can paste a picture, print out a picture off your printer if you'd like. So aiming for one of the center holes, starting from the inside. I'm struggling a little bit here because I didn't realize it wasn't lined up with only 1 sheet of paper. So before, when I've done these, I can hold the book and thread it and put it back together, but this one, as you can see here, I was missing 1 sheet, so I had to put down the book. There it is. I was only off by a touch, and there it goes, super easy together. And again, you want to leave a tail. I'm going to tie a bow in this one, so I'm going to leave a bit of a longer tail in between the center line. And we put back our book together, making sure it's all lined up again. There's our center tail. And you can see how it just comes out the front, not the back. Now we're going to weave to the left. And we're going to wrap around the edge, so we'll do another weave. Again, make sure you're not going to be splitting the embroidery thread as you go along. Give it a little bit of a tug, making it tight as you go. And now our next is a wrap. So after that, we go back to a weave to the center, and this one you do go all the way through. A weave again. It's kind of like a weave wrap. If we're going over 10 holes, you'd weave all the way to the edge, however many holes you had, and then come all the way back to your center. And weaving around the edge. And our next one, we're going to wrap the top. And we weave. And next we wrap. And we weave. This is getting a little tighter in some of the holes. Now, as we wrap our last hole, we don't go all the way through to the other side. Our last hole is going in and to the center where you have your tail. So if your book is a little harder to open, you could always score the book first in the front, and that'll help bend it open. Because right now it is tight. But it will loosen off in time as you use your book. Very carefully so you don't puncture the other pages. And just wiggle, 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 and it'll pull through. Now I've left a longer tail with this one because I would like to do a bow in the center. And a good little tug. Keep it all tight. And before I tie the center, I'm going to score it. So I wound up scoring the back first. I didn't need to because it already had it, but I realized later I did a double score, but that's okay. That'll just help bend the back and access the book a little easier. Sure, why not? And we're going to go to the front, and then it'll make it easier after you've scored it to tie off the bow in the center of the book. You are pressing quite hard. I'm using 2 to 3 lines for scoring because you've done the paint, also a couple of layers of Mod Podge on it, and the paper on top too, so it will be a little denser and thicker. Now that it's easier access, now I can tie that bow. So I did a double reef knot, left over right, right over left, hit it again, and then did a nice little bow to hold it in place. So here's one with finishing it to the edges, one with just the forward hole, and then the 2 smaller books, one with the edges, one without. So you can see that my little red one, it was my first one I did. It was a little loose, so I need to tighten that a little bit more. But I'm happy with my purple one, super tight, good bind. The green one to the edge turned out really well, and the aquamarine I'm very happy with. I think my bestie and my mom will be very happy with these little books. So what we're going to throw down next is some moss along the edges. So what you can do is you can grab some Mod Podge. I'm going to use the high gloss again, so when it dries it'll match the coating on it. Instead of using like a matte finish, I think a gloss would be super cool with this one. So what I've taken here is some moss, some reindeer moss, because it's a little denser and it's also moister. It's not dry, so it's not going to come off as much as the other stuff. And I've just taken this and cut it up into little bits and use it like my moss grass. And we want to do a generous coating of, you could use white glue or the Mod Podge, but I thought the Mod Podge, because of glossy, would match up better. If you have a translucent glue too, that would work super well. And I'm giving just a little trim around the edges, around the picture and around the lettering. And then we're going to add some moss over top of the glue. Don't need too much on there, but patting it down. Whatever stays on, stays on. Whatever falls off, it'll just grow. Who knows? Maybe I'll glue some other moss on I find in the forest with this. Yeah, just shaking off the excess that I don't need. Now there's a little extra glue around some of the lettering, so it's because it's almost feels like it's laminated, you can just push that glue around, push the moss around however you like around your lettering of your log book, and it cleans up super nice. And I'll let that dry. It sure didn't take very long to dry it all with that, maybe about an hour or so. Might as well make all my books a little forest rustic looking. Might as well have some all fun with them with the moss. I love moss on everything. So before you're clear coated or after, whatever blows your skirt up, you can paint your mushrooms. Doing a light coat of some cream, and then I'm going to be rocking in some blue, some aquas, and some purples. My little red ones, I did all red tops on them. Again, have some fun. Paint them however you wish. You can also add some sparkles onto this, some spray sparkles onto the front, or paint sparkles onto the front of the mushrooms. You have to comment down below what color you're going to paint your mushroom book and what color your covers are. I would love to hear what colors you went with. I thought the aqua blue and purple would look sharp on the green and the aquamarine, but I definitely had some fun with the little red one. So here's all my little books that I had fun making with you. Thanks so very much for chilling out with me today. Throw me down a little like up and ring that bell if you want to see more videos like this. Please subscribe and join us for more content like this. Let me know what color of mushroom book that you're going to go with and what color of mushrooms you're going to paint yours. Have yourself an absolutely fungus among us fabulous magical day.